There we go. We live, people. How y'all doing? Hey, what's up, people? My name is Tim Black. Welcome back to the Tim Black Show. Glad you can make it. This is a special presentation, and I'm very happy to be presenting this, guys, because we're gonna have a real interesting, important conversation that I think everyone should be tuning into, guys. And if you subscribe, you can chat. I had to cut that on, man. I was getting trolled already. I don't know what's going on, man. Reparations beef in my announcement thread. I'm like, oh my God. I guess let me pump the brakes. Let me put, at least be a subscriber if you're going to be trolling. All right, guys, with no further ado, man, my guest is an activist who I noticed on X or Twitter. I've seen her out there for years. I've been following her for years. And she has something she wanted to discuss about the California reparations. So let's bring her in, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, Friday Jones. Hey, Friday.
Hey, Mr. Black, how you doing?
I'm excellent. How you doing, sis?
Hey, I'm lovely, living in the Sunshine State.
Man, that is gorgeous out there, man. I know the weather's good. What is it out there right now?
It's gotta be 90 degrees, and depending on where you are, it's hotter than that. But you know, I'm trying to keep it cool and breezy.
Man, that is exceptional. It's not too bad right now here in the DC area. Right now it's like 78, 80. So that's pleasant, you know.
I gotta shout out my Aunt Irene and all the Shields family. I got a gang of family that lives in Washington, D.C.
Oh.
When I went to Howard University, ultimately they live at the bottom of campus, and I met all of this family that I didn't know about because it was like the great-grandparents and the grandparents, like who they grew up with. But now that we're all up and down the East Coast, I never knew them until I went to college, and like they are my favorite, the most funnest branch of the family, all up and down that coast.
Yeah, man. We are close knit. I think the DC area, man, it's everything. It's I've lived here my whole life, you know, and I'm in a small town called Waldorf, Maryland right now. But it's like 15 minutes from DC, and it's just DC expensive, babe. I ain't gonna lie to you. Friday.
Look, everything expensive right now. Everything expensive right now. That's part of the problem. That's why we're here talking about these reparations.
Exactly. You know, I watched a couple of, first of all, guys, I didn't know that Friday even did content. I thought she was like just doing shows or whatever. I'm so damn busy. I'm out of the loop on some of this stuff, but what I'm not out of the loop on is reparations and the need for it. And
no, and I saw the coverage that you did, and thank you so much, because, you know, from a wider perspective, you know, I'm the president of the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants. That's what those letters represent behind my name. And people in California, particularly the California Legislative Black Caucus, and I need my Twitter and social media fam to understand that is not the CBC. That is not the Congressional Black Caucus. Those are two different entities. One is a federal entity. The other one represents, you know, California, and particularly Black California. But, you know, California has really been leading the conversation in reparations because the task force that it had was really groundbreaking. The only time we've seen something done at the state level, and I just recently learned this because I thought Rosewood, Florida was just a municipal action, but it had to go through their state senate in order for the Rosewood descendants to receive education from the state of Florida. So I've learned that in the course of my advocacy. But what the state of California did in terms of issuing a 1,000-page report, you know, covering a range of harms, nothing like that had really been done since at the federal level, the Moynihan report. And so it's really important that we understand what happened and the scale and the fact that there's going to be ripple and there's going to be fallout. I think that, you know, you kind of hit it the nail on the head when you talked about the hit that the Democratic Party might take behind some of this California fallout, and they absolutely should, because Gavin Newsom, why sign AB 312 on legislation to hold a task force to spend, you know, the Department of Justice's I think it was $3 million in total that they spent doing that particular task force. If you weren't then going to sign reparations bills, and for people who don't know what reparations is, I don't care how the CLBC packages it, but their bills were not reparations. They want to be known as being the people that did reparations, but their bills were not reparations. And we have to be unapologetic when we say that. You don't have advocacy organizations that actually have been around for 5 years, that are working on humanitarian principles, and then you as a politician, you just get up and stand up and decide that, okay, these bills that I'm putting forward that are refurbished bills are somehow reparations. That's not how this works.
Man, I had no idea it went that far. I didn't realize. So basically, this was like a farce.
Well, I don't. Here's the thing. I think that there's something called InsideOutside Approach. And I think that Senator Bradford really did a fantastic job on representing what that should look like, meaning he was on the task force. And because he was on the task force, he heard from reparationists. And because he heard from reparationists, he understood more, I think, and to a higher degree than some of his counterparts on the CLBC, what it means to put forth reparations bills. And so, he had compensation in his bill. He had restitution. He had satisfaction. He had guarantees of non repetition, and he had rehabilitation. And I'm saying them out of order, but CRSRG, that's like the quick way to see whether or not a bill has or does not have. The Crown Act in California came out of Supervisor Holly Mitchell in Los Angeles, and it's great that what is her name? Tina McKenna, I believe, redrafted that bill. Or no, it was actually what's her name? It's Weber Jr. I shouldn't call her Weber Jr., but it's Weber Jr. coming out of San Diego who put that sort of Crown Act into state legislation. But there's no guarantees of non-repetition the way she wrote that bill. There's no dollars for people who need to sue their employers and have a loss of income, in terms of satisfying. There's nothing to the bill other than saying, Black people, you could go to work how you want to go to work or however you need to go to work. But she also had a caveat in there, and she gave an out to employers because she left language in there that said, unless it was somehow, directly related or impeded you. I forget the language, but basically, if your hair somehow interferes with your job, the employer gets to say, yes, you have to change it. And so when you look at the gravity of that bill, it's not significant. When you look at Reggie Jones Sawyer, who was also anti-lineage vote on the AB 3121 task force, yes, he did do an apology bill, but you know what? His apology calls for a plaque on the state capitol, just as a one-off of an apology, and that's it. But the state of California basically runs like from New York to Georgia. If we had to compare coast to coast, that apology should be at every state office building, every EDD building, every DMV building, right, at every courthouse, at every park, at everything that the state of California owns. But you know what? Reggie Jones Sawyer did not talk to the reparations advocates to say, well, if you're going to get this apology and you're going to put up a plaque, this is what it needs to look like. And I think those are like the differences. And so I reject the notion of from the CLBC that their 14 bill package, that they basically regurgitated bills from their prior legislative calendar that they wanted to get off, constitutes reparations. And we saw Tina McKenna do this whole write-up in the LA Sentinel, and I reject a lot of what she had to say. I think she's spreading misinformation. There is really a concerted effort to sort of flip it on the advocates, and they wanted to not call us advocates, right? They wanted to say that we were protesters. Well, we had a right to protest. We had a right to be there. She didn't want to put in there that they basically, you're supposed to get a pass, as a part of the public to attend these
Right.
particular sessions, you're supposed to get it passed. They refuse to give members of our different organizations passes, and so the question has to become why. You can't tell half the story. You have to tell the whole story, and that's why I really want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to come here today, because it's more nuanced than that. And Tina McKenna, who is the chair of the CLBC, I believe they change positions every year, and Weber Jr., Akila Weber, I think next year is slated to be the president, and I think Isaac Bryant, should they win these November elections, he's slated to be the vice chair of the CLBC in the 2025 legislative calendar. But we as Black people are put in a really tough position, because Tina McKenna did come out and talk to us when we were at the state capitol, but Tina McKenna basically said, well, bills like this, they sometimes have to go a second round, and so we're going to pick this up next year. And she treated it like, do we want to charge 10 cents for plastic bags in California? She treated it like, you see what I'm saying? She didn't treat it with the historic magnificence, and she didn't treat it with the honor and respect that she should. And I think that Senator Bradford did something that we haven't even seen Barack Obama do. We haven't seen Joe Biden do. He went out, he was terming out, and he went out strong. He went out representing the people. And you got to give it to him. Senator Bradford has written bills for decertification of PD in the state of California that goes beyond just the sheriffs in the different counties. It goes to all police departments in the state of California, where when they go rogue, they get kicked off and they cannot be recertified in another county or in another PD within the state of California. That type of legislation at the federal level would be huge. And NAASD, we have petitioned for a Freedmen's Agency with President Biden's administration. We had something called the Repair Act that we published in 2021. Anybody can look at it. It had about 12 things that he could do by executive order. And establishing that executive agency is one of those things. And so to kill that particular bill, I think has set this movement back on a national scale, and the CLBC needs to understand that.
See, now I'm kind of confused. I didn't understand it was 14 bills. I thought it was 2 bills that were pertaining to reparations, the 1403 and the 1331.
So 1403 and 1331 are the 2 bills that were rejected. The 14 bill package is what the CLBC, slapped lipstick on and said this is reparations when it's not. The one bill that is reparations, that Kavan Ward and Where Is My Land, which was very instrumental in the Bruce's Beach, I believe that's SB 1050. That bill also passed. That's about the only bill that I'm willing to say is reparations and has that CRSRG. It has those 5 elements and those 5 pillars of reparations in it. And I support, the passing of that, and the CLBC did the right thing. But the question becomes why? Why was there and the CLBC is doing this whole tour like the state of Black California. Why was the week before this vote conversations about basically giving money to the California Black Freedom Fund? Why did Lola Smallwood put that into the public ethers? And it's like that information traveled, and it traveled to the advocates. And I don't think they understand. We've been really working at this for 5 years. And because we've been working at it for 5 years, we're very networked in the state. We have different organizations that we work with that are not only just, lineage-based, descendant-based led organizations. And, the California Black Freedom Fund, they do work. They have a laundry list of organizations that they work with. But there's one in particular, like 2 weeks ago, the California Black Workers Center based out of LA. It's a blueprint for how like work centers for employing Black people could work. And so the organization that really kind of worked with getting that off the ground. It was some SEIU, some unions that came together and partnered with like Black Power Network. Black Power Network is an organization that has been funded by the California Black Freedom Fund. But what I would suggest to any of the grantees that have received funding from there is to stand with us. Stand with the reparationists, stand with the people who have been doing this whole time. And even if your thing is workforce development, and I understand that Lola Smallwood, who is my senator, she is my senator in Los Angeles. She was appointed, I think, earlier this year to the California Workforce Development Board. So I can understand her passion for wanting to fund organizations that do that, but you don't do it at the cost and at the expense of people who have fought for years. It took years working with Dr. Weber. It took years working with the task force. It took years working with Senator Bradford in order for us to line this moment up like that. And you, Senator Smallwood Cuevas, you do not, because of your dedication to workforce development, just decide you're going to snatch reparations resources from all of the Black people in California, which is the 5th largest Black population in this country. You don't get to snatch our Freedmen's Agency and the budget for it so you can focus on the things that move your heart. All of these things move our heart as Black people. And if we work together, then we can challenge the state of California to do the right thing by the reparations and the constituents of California, as well as making investments into a fund like the California Black Freedom Fund, where we know Black organizations are underfunded. That's indisputable, but that's not the way you go about it.
So it sounds a little bit to me now, just as somebody on the outside looking in, just listening to what you say, it sounds like they kind of checked it down to offering an alternative instead of looking at the reparations, or tried to blunt some of the blowback from what they were going to do with the reparations bill, and say, hey, we're going to do some Black agenda stuff on the peripheral, fund some stuff over here, and kind of mitigate when they drop the bottom off the bottom of the reparations legislation.
Right. And I think the expectation was that we were going to say, oh, well, that's okay. But no, it's not okay.
No,
this government, particularly in the state of California, has at times the 4th and or 5th. It goes back and forth, but the 4th or 5th largest economy in the world. So balance your checkbook. Don't tell me you got to balance your checkbook on $12 million that was set aside for Black folks and reparations. Do not tell me that. There should be a set aside every year. And the fact that these bills move through appropriations, which historically is where bills go to die, that means you were supposed to rise. And if the governor gutted the bill, you were supposed to let him fall on his sword, because as far as I'm concerned, he should never be elected to any public office ever again in the whole of the United States. And whatever presidential aspirations he has, he can move forward with them. But we are networked across this country, and we will move the people that we can move to get the word out that he cannot be elected into any capacity, particularly as the president, because he didn't finish the job that he had in California, period.
What's so crazy about this, Friday, is that I'm like, how did they think they were going to get away with this? I mean, this thing is getting publicity all across the country, if not the world. I mean, it's California, okay? So for them to sort of spike the ball or call it time out, I don't know what you want to call this, the analogy for this, but I saw the video of Gavin Newsom. He didn't even really answer the question. He sort of acted, he kind of gave you guys the hi-hat. You know, like, I'm above this. Like, I don't know about these bills. It didn't hit my desk, so I don't really have any knowledge of it. And I just thought that was very condescending. So what I'm getting also, Friday, is people saying, Tim Black, man, we think this was all intentional to thwart Kamala Harris because Gavin Newsom has presidential aspirations. And he thought if he played with the emotions of Black people, got him pissed off in Cali, that might hurt Kamala Harris. Now, I'm sure you can't speak definitively about that. But have you heard similar rumors and insights on that?
That's interesting. I have not heard it. I'm sorry. There's a fire, something driving by. I hope you're not getting too much of that feedback. But I have not heard it that way. That's interesting. But at this point, nothing about the man surprises me, whether his motivation was to help bolster his potential 2020 8 sight on the presidency, or if he just wanted to pass the buck. Didn't want to be the governor that had signed, that kind of monumental and historic bill. And I think that that's the bottom line to it. As far as Kamala Harris's campaign, I think she's going to catch the blowback, one, because she does not have a real platform still on her on her website. And you see videos of Black people going, okay, well, where are your issues? My understanding is that 21% of Americans at large don't really know what she did as the VP, and so they're unclear on what she would do as a president. And I think that with that kind of undecided vote that exists right there, it was a significant misstep for the state of California, because I feel like it would have surged Black voters across the country. They were already energized by the prospect of a Howard University grad, a Black woman, Black girl magic. I don't believe in all of that hype, but if that's the hype that kind of got Black people motivated again to get out and vote, my family, and I talk about the United Martin family, which is one of the largest Black families in the United States that can trace their ancestor back to being imported into the United States. My family did a voter registration to get voter registration done in support of Kamala Harris. That's not where my politics lie, but the fact is her candidacy has motivated Black voters in a way that we have not seen. But we cannot fall for the Obama effect a second time. We can't fall for the Obama effect.
Wow. That's almost disheartening to hear that people are getting that exhilarated over Kamala Harris. It's yeah, man, that's kind of depressing in a way, because she has nothing to show for her bona fides when it comes to looking out for Black Americans at all. I mean, it is almost a blank sheet is what she has in that regard. Yeah, that's troubling. But so part of the title, Friday Jones, it's not just what stalled it. Like, why do you believe? And like I say, this is just a conversation, guys. I'm not expecting Friday to be able to answer all questions, reparations, and to get into the minds of why they didn't do what they did. But she has more insight than I do about this particular issue. So why did they stop it? Why didn't they let it go to the floor? At least then we'd be able to hold Gavin Newsom accountable.
Yeah, and I had to like walk my mom through this a little bit, because she's like, oh, well, it didn't get the votes. And I'm like, no. It never made it to the floor to get the votes. And there's a significant difference. You have people who ultimately on the 1450, they were co-sponsors. They weren't co-sponsors on the 1331 on the assembly side. But these people co-sponsored the Freedmen's Agency, right? Okay, so you co-sponsor it in this Sentinel, and I could drop it. I don't know if you share things, with your viewers and whatnot, but in this LA Sentinel with Tina McKenna, who is in Inglewood, and I don't think Tina McKenna should keep her seat, because she said some whole things through this process that are unacceptable. But she basically says that it was one Black caucus member who damaged the collective effort, and she's referring to Senator Bradford. And what we did a town hall, NAASD, Black Lives Matter, Coalition for Just and Equitable California, Africa Town Coalition, LEAP. We did this whole town hall. BLM graced us with their space, and when we did our town hall, Isaac Bryant, who is my assemblyman, came. He came and he took the heat for a whole good hour. He took the heat, and one of the things that he said was that he voted the way he did, or they pushed in order to keep the CLBC whole. And my question is, who were the defectors? You can't tell me that the man who brought the bill that you all co-sponsored is the defector. There were some other defectors, and there's something that's not being said, out loud. And this whole idea that it wasn't part of our work, like that's the language that Assembly Member Tina McKenna down in Inglewood is using. To me, it's about the fame. You want to be I don't know. You want to be LG Johnson? I don't know. I don't know who to compare like black people, you know, who have done historic legislation to. You want to be noted as Shirley Chisholm. I mean, you people want to go down in history as those people. Had you passed those bills, you could have gone down in history as that, because we would have gave it to you. And your ego, if you had allayed your ego, we could have gotten it there. But for you to say you wanted to keep yourselves as an organization intact, but you are okay with basically damaging the people of California, that's enough reason for all of y'all to go.
It just sounds so hypocritical of them. So they tried to throw it all on Mr. Senator Bradford.
They tried to throw it all on Senator Bradford, and I guarantee you what Senator Bradford did, Biden won't do. And I will eat my words publicly if Biden goes out with moving a commission, a federal commission to study reparations, with or without amendments that our organization has given it to him, because I don't think he's built and made of that character.
And when you say we don't know exactly, is that because I saw a clip now? It looked like they weren't allowing some of the advocates to go within the assembly hall. Is that the reason why they were barred from the assembly hall?
I have no reason. I don't know why we were barred from the assembly hall.
You saw you know the clip I'm talking about, where people were trying to get in, and they were like, "We were just in here the other day. Why now we need a special pass to enter?" I'm not sure if I'm correct, but
no, you're correct. In that footage was Darlene Crumedy, who's a member of CJEC, and Kim, and I forget Kim's last name in this moment, but they strolled up there to say, "Hey, like, what is this today?" On Wednesday, they didn't have that issue. On Thursday, they didn't have that issue. On Friday, they didn't have that issue. But on Saturday, when all of the people showed up, the people who weren't at their black jobs, I'm sorry, I couldn't resist myself. When all the people, you know, had the day off of work and could mobilize and get up there, all of a sudden, there were all these restrictions in place. My understanding is they also took seats out of the physical place where the session is, and then they had other seats that were centered to where you could see everyone, blocked off so that no one could sit in them. That whole thing was to create distance, you know, between advocates and legislators, and that's not how you govern. Our Constitution reads "we the people," not "we some of the people some of the time." That's not what it reads. It's "we the people," and you work for us, and I pay nice taxes. I make a good living. I pay nice taxes.
So it sounds like that George Carlin thing. It's a big club and we ain't in it, and they barring all the black people that want changes in California. And the package itself, you say there was provisions in this package that would have set a precedent across the country.
Absolutely. Like that was if you think about the Freedmen's Bureau and Andrew Johnson cutting it down, the only reason Andrew Johnson cut it down is because he's a racist and he wanted to put Confederates back into their offices, you know, in federal government. And what he said, a lot of people haven't read his speech, but what he said in almost the second to last, I think, paragraph of his speech was that, you know, he hoped that the Negro would be able to experience full citizenship in the United States. And if that doesn't happen and we fail the Negro, then it's by executive order that this thing can be brought back. That means Gavin Newsom, he is the executive of the state of California. He has the ability to bring back Bradford's bill back as the executive, and he has until the end of the legislative calendar, which is, we're in the month of September, I believe, September 30th. He has until September 30th to do that. And if President Biden wanted to be, you know, extraordinary in his presidency, he also, by executive order, could bring back the Freedmen's Bureau at the federal level, because it only requires an executive action.
There could be some more going on behind the scenes that we're not even aware of, Friday Jones.
And I believe that there is. One of the things that I've seen, and, you know, I say this, predators and abusers don't want you to vocalize your abuse. They don't want you, you know, they want you to put makeup on your face and hide your scars and go out there and just be and do what they need you to do or want you to do. And you know, the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants, the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California, ETM Media, some other like descendant-led organizations I know have, you know, attempted to get funding, not necessarily from the California Black Freedom Fund, but I have no, you know, I feel no way about stating the fact that the California Black Freedom Fund has not funded any of these lineage-based reparations organizations in the state of California that have been doing this heavy lifting since we, and by we, I mean Chris Logson and Marcus Champion, worked on language to establish the AB 3121 bill itself with Dr. Shirley Weber, now Secretary of State Shirley Weber. And so we have been literally here since day one of the California effort. And I'm sorry, these funders, and I'm not saying California Black Freedom Fund is one of them, but there are funders who basically are anti-lineage reparations. And they have made it part of their policy to not fund the most disenfranchised Black people in the whole country, historically disenfranchised by government, historically who have had laws created just to further the harm. These funders now think it's okay to not fund descendant-led organizations. And I tell you, they would never say to the descendants of Holocaust victims, how dare you advocate for yourself? They would never say that. And it's a sin that they are putting us in this position. But we fund ourselves. We keep on going. We form coalitions so that we can share in resources. And we're going to get this done. And I would hope, again, that the California Black Freedom Fund and any Black organization that has been funded by them would stand with us in our efforts and stand in solidarity with us.
So you say that they have until September 30th to bring this back and to take another bite at the apple if they want to redeem themselves. Also, politically, behind the scenes, there could be some movement by the Harris, Biden, still the Biden. Let me put them at the top. The Biden-Harris administration, where they could do something. They could. If Biden wants to go down in history as the guy who did this, who wants those accolades attached to his name, he could do that.
He could do that. And, you know, look, the convention, and this is where the Democrats, I don't know what to say about them. They just had their convention. It was all on CNN. It was, everybody was carrying it live. California had the biggest presence there at that convention. Wow. Gavin Newsom was up front and center and highlighted during their convention. And so if the Democrats remotely want to redeem themselves, and I don't know if you can save CLBC members, but if they remotely wanted to redeem themselves as a party, they would be pressuring Gavin Newsom and President Biden to do these executive orders for Freedmen Agency. And as a point of reference, they would look to Stephen Bradford's original language and they would bring it back fully intact. And if they wanted to really do something, they should put some sort of request for appropriations for another $12 million, double what we started with, and make it right.
I like the way you think on that. You know, the debates are coming up tomorrow. And if history holds true Friday, more than likely there'll be at least one reparations question in there, if not for anything else, just to, they think it's going to hurt Trump probably, but we don't expect anything out of Trump. It's possible Kamala will have to speak to this. Maybe not to California, but to the broader idea of reparations right there on the national stage. Have you thought about that?
So here is what I hope happens, because I don't know if you saw this footage, but Assembly member, his name is Bilal, but he goes by Bill, Assembly member, and he's in Temecula, California. And that's wine country. That's like San Diego-ish wine country.
Sounds
Bill,
nice.
Temecula is nice. I've been there. It's nice. But Bill Essayli, I believe that's how you say his last name, Essayli. Bill Essayli is a Republican. He is the other person who came and spoke to us advocates, not protesters, on Saturday when this bill was in its final hour. These bills were in its final hour. And an attorney named Sharice Cryer pulled him to the side and said, hey, look, this is what's happening. You know, we've been at this for some time and we can't even get these bills to the floor. And he attempted to bring the bill to the floor. And Isaac Bryant said, you don't even believe in reparations. You supported, I don't know, the 3 strikes law. You know, you've been anti-Black your whole career. If you vote for this bill, I'll second the motion. At some point, Bill Asalee seconds the motion. He says, I will, if you second the motion, I will vote yes. Isaac Bryant refused to bring the bill to the floor. And so what I would say to former President Trump is follow Bill Asalee. Let this country, the Constitution, be about the people. Understand that this bill and this work and all of these years were done by citizens of the United States, and consider, as a Republican, being like the old time, what were those Republicans called? There's a term for it, but be like those old time Republicans, the radical Republicans.
Abolitionists?
No, the radical Republicans who back in the day wanted the newly freed slaves to have full citizenship. We need former President Trump to stand up like Bill Asalee, because the reason he brought the bill to the floor, and he has since issued his whole public statement on it, is that he believes in our government. He believes it's supposed to work for the people. And for all the conservatives who truly believe that, then you at times are going to have to push legislation through that you might not agree with, because it's the will of the people. And so that's my suggestion.
Yeah, I love that idea. You know, that might actually have some legs, Friday, because Trump at this point, I think he is in a mode. I still believe he's the front runner, and she's challenging him, I think. I still feel that, because I think he underposed dramatically, because he's got such a bad reputation across the country that people don't want to say they're voting for him even when they're voting for him. So that's one thing. But I believe it'd be worth it to him to put the onus on the Democrats, because it's going to put them in a bad situation. Then at least, Friday, see, my thing is I want people to see. I want Black people, Black American descendants of slavery, to see who our friends are and who our enemies are. I want them to be like, no way to equivocate, no wiggle room. I want it to be very evident, because I've been talking this shit for 10 years, and I still got people that don't think what they say, don't think duck grease is greasy. So I want them to see what's going on. Now, Gavin Newsom has exposed himself. If Trump says this, we will see in real time, without a teleprompter, the reaction from VP Harris.
Yeah, and I think he should press on like Bill Asalee, Assembly Member Bill Asalee. I also think, to your point, now we have all these apologies. Well, let me backtrack. We have an apology from Isaac Bryant. We don't have an apology from Tina McKenna, from Chair Lori Wilson, from Lola Smallwood Cuevas. We don't have from those CLBC members, from Akilah Weber, from Shirley Weber's daughter. We don't have any sort of apology to the advocates, or any sort of, this is how we intend to bring the bill back, and here are our enhancements. Like, that conversation has not happened. And so to the extent that conversation has not happened, we as a people have nothing to lose. We talk to all sides, and like, for reparationists, for true advocates, it is nonpartisan.
Right.
It's nonpartisan. Whoever wins, our duty, my job as the president of the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants, is to continue this fight, period. And we don't have the luxury like the CBC. Now we're talking about the CBC, who we're not going to talk to President Trump. We're not going to have conversation with him. We don't have that kind of luxury.
Yeah, that's all cap. That's all posturing for your political party, not advocating for the people, which is the major knock against the CBC. I mean, it's all about them staying in good graces with the elites in the Democratic Party. Because you're right, man, this is an issue-based. This is a justice-based initiative. That's what this is about. It's not about parties at all. Whoever gets the job done gets the job done.
And that's the part of the message that I think the CLBC, they missed. They wanted to say, well, I authored this bill. The CLBC authored this bill. Black people don't care who authors the bill. It could be Magical Mice at Night. I mean, seriously, it could be mythological creatures
Right,
that
right, right,
write
right.
bills that show up on your desk, when you come back to the office. We don't care. But what we do want is that respect and that acknowledgement for the work that has been done. And we do want our legislators to work with us, not against us. And then certainly not to get on media in California newspapers, Los Angeles newspapers, and downplay the advocacy and try to spin it just because November 7th is coming and you still need to get elected.
Yeah, that shouldn't happen. I feel a certain kind of way about apologies. Apologies, they don't go that far with me when people already know the ramifications of their actions when they did what they did. So, like, it would take deeds, not words, for me to even entertain any type of forgiveness or second shot or whatever. Like, what are you gonna do about it? And make it quick,
Right.
because that's what it's all about, man. People can say anything. I mean, one of my knocks against Trump is that he'll be in front of one audience and he'll say full throat with his whole chest Friday, "Black people build America," and then go somewhere else and say something totally different and change the lines up. So that's my knock with them. And of course, I've done tons of content about the Democratic Party and what they do. But Friday, so the other part of this title is the path forward. So what do you think, in your best estimation, would be the way to go from here?
So for me, at the national level, we have been working very diligently. Yeah, that's the right word.
There it is.
Diligently for the past month on a unity reparations demand. And I would invite organizations, Black organizations in particular. I would invite the California Black Freedom Fund and all of the grantees that have been funded by them to follow NAASD.org on all of our social media. I would encourage you all to sign up for our newsletter at naasd.org so that you can hear about our next unity meeting, Reparations 2025 unity meeting, because we're going to go through the first 100 days of this presidency. And we are formulating strategy, active strategy across the nation. And this thing is growing because people are at the point where they want to boycott. And we are listening to how we might be able to put together a boycott at the national level. People are mad, and we need to channel that energy into positive action. And so I would encourage you, again, to just follow naasd.org. I would encourage you to follow me at I am Friday Jones on all social media. I wear a lot of hats. I'm the vice chair of the Los Angeles Reparations Advisory Commission. Our commission, if you're in LA, has public workshops this whole week. And so you can go to laisforeveryone.org. LA is for everyone. And, tap in, because this movement of reparations has now become a national movement. And there's a place for everyone to do their part. We had some wonderful, wonderful media folks who were really, really giving the advocates their just due, and really, saying what side we were on, just like you were doing here with your platform and being a Black media. You're the new Black media. And so I would advise people to get in where they fit in, because that's the pathway forward. And as long as we are trying to move as one, we will get this job done. The AB 3121 recommendations made their way to Switzerland by Lisa Holder, who did not vote for lineage reparations, Cheryl Grills, who did not vote for lineage-based reparations, with Nkechi Taifa, who was one of the experts, witnesses, who was not an advocate for lineage reparations, and the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants, which is about lineage-based reparations. And both of the sort of opposing sides to reparations said this is the best blueprint internationally. And so when we stand together, we can get things done. And I say that so that people can see what appears to be your enemy may not be your enemy, but every Black face is not a friend.
Man, That was a glorious ending to this show. Friday, I want to thank you so much for hitting me up, for us being able to sync up the schedules to get this done and have you come and enlighten my audience and share this crucial information. Something we're very passionate about, and you brought the heat. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, and I'm happy to come back anytime. If we get something new, I'll shoot it to you. You can let me know if it's still newsworthy. But I appreciate what you do, Tim Black, and peace and reparations. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, y'all. Give it up for Friday Jones, y'all. I'm gonna put the comments in the description box below. I'm gonna make sure that I'll make sure that Friday's contact information is there, so you can go follow her exclusively and find out more about her, track her, and be a part of what she's doing, man. This is amazing, guys. I want to thank you all for tuning into this joint. I know this was kind of spur of the moment, but I wanted to jump on it like Friday said, man. And I'm so glad I had the opportunity to do this. I'll be back in a couple hours, so don't get tired of me yet. I'll be back in about 9:30 p.m. for the regular Tim Black show. That's it, y'all. I'll see you soon. Thank you, Buck. Thank you to my moderators. Thank you for my people in the chat. Maddie to you, Black Mamba, all the people that commented. Thank you for the people that donated. We got a couple people that chimed in. We got a new member, Terrell Allen. Thank you, Terrell Allen, for joining. And that's it, y'all. I'll see you soon. All right, ladies. Where my ladies at? When I say that, I mean my daughter.
Now, there you go.
I can wait till it's my